Have you ever felt watched over by something that never speaks? A presence not seen, not heard, but felt in the silence between heartbeats, in the stillness just before sleep, a guardian, a protector, a witness to your moments of joy and your darkest hours. And yet we forget him. This is the story of Archangel Michael, but not the one you've heard in churches or old books. This isn't about battles in heaven. This is about the silence that follows when we stop listening, about the heartbreak of being needed, but ignored. Skip. Yes, skipped. Think about it. How many times have you begged for protection, only to doubt when it arrived in silence? How many warnings have come as whispers, dreams, gut feelings, all dismissed as coincidence? What does it mean to skip an angel? To bypass divine strength, to scroll past a cosmic message that was meant for you. We're so wired for noise, constant content, constant opinions, constant stimulation. But the divine doesn't shout. It waits. And when we don't listen, something ancient suffers. This video isn't just storytelling. It's a spiritual mirror, a guided meditation through the unseen, where myth and meaning collide. Because today, Archangel Michael is crying, and it's not symbolic. It's a spiritual tear, a divine reaction to a world spinning so fast. We've forgotten the stillness that saves us. In our obsession with signs and miracles, we've missed the ones already standing by us. We wanted fire from the sky. He offered stillness. We asked for proof. He gave presence, and still we turned away. Why is he crying? What does it mean when an angel mourns? And what happens when we finally stop and look back into those celestial eyes? You steer about to find out. Breathe. Be still. Listen. This isn't fiction. It's a feeling, a calling, a chance to return. Let's begin. Who is Archangel Michael? To some he is a name whispered in prayers. To others a myth, a symbol of forgotten battles and half-remembered visions. But long before words captured his image, Michael stood as something timeless, a guardian of light against the creeping dark. In ancient Hebrew texts, Michael is who is like God. Not a question, but a declaration, a soul forged not in fire, but in absolute allegiance to what is pure and true. Christianity crowned him the leader of the heavenly armies, the defeater of the dragon. Islam honored him as Michael, the angel of mercy, who nourishes the earth with rain and divine sustenance. Across religions, across centuries, he remains the same protector, warrior, judge. But beneath the titles, the armor, the sword, there is a heart. Imagine him not as a distant icon, but as a living being. Vast wings, folding gently around worlds he vowed to shield. Eyes that do not simply see, but weep when those he guards lose their way. Michael's sword is often painted in fire, a blade that slices through deception and fear. His scales weigh the souls of the departed, a balance between mercy and justice. His wings stretch across histories, legends, dreams. They were never meant to conquer. They were meant to shelter. He fights not for dominance. He fights to protect what is most fragile, hope. And yet for all his might, there is a humility in Michael that few notice, a sorrow that even fewer can bear to witness. For Michael doesn't seek worship. He doesn't thirst for recognition. He exists to serve a light greater than himself, and to lift others into it. When humanity thrives, he rejoices quietly. When it falls, he mourns in silence. There is a painting, rarely mentioned, depicting Michael not standing victorious but kneeling, his sword lowered, his face buried in his hands. Few recognize the meaning. It is not defeat. It is grief. The grief of a guardian who cannot force love upon those he protects. The pain of watching free will used as a weapon instead of a gift. You see, every time we choose hatred over compassion, fear over faith, cruelty over kindness, it's not just our world that dims. It's a tear in the fabric of something far greater. And somewhere, Michael feels it. Each choice echoes across unseen realms, heavy in the scales he carries. And still, he does not abandon us. He stands watch on the edge of every battlefield, not only wars of nations, but wars within hearts. Every soul at war with itself draws him closer. Every silent prayer, every cry in the night, he hears them all, and even when unacknowledged, he fights for us. This is Michael, not a general craving victory, but a protector embracing the cost of his loyalty. Imagine standing under those wings, worn, weathered, patient beyond time. Imagine the weight he carries, loving a world that so often forgets he is even there. He doesn't cry out for attention. He doesn't demand to be seen. He waits, watches, hopes. Sometimes, in rare moments, you might feel him, that sudden rush of bravery when you should have collapsed, that quiet strength that pulled you from the edge when no one else knew you stood there, that peace that makes no sense, but fills your chest anyway. Michael does not speak with words. He speaks through endurance, compassion, and silent resolve. And yet sometimes, even the strongest spirits falter. And when Michael weeps, it is a cry stitched into the winds, the oceans, the rain. It's a call few recognize anymore. A song of sorrow woven into the rhythm of the earth itself. Not for himself. For us, because somewhere along the line we forgot we had champions not of flesh, but of spirit. And in forgetting we closed the door to something ancient and healing. There is an ancient legend that says every 1,000 tears shed by a guardian angel creates a star, a light in the darkness, a reminder. If that's true, then perhaps the stars above us are not just celestial bodies. Perhaps they are the silent testimonies of a sorrow that loved too much to ever give up. Michael is not a myth. He is the whisper of courage when fear chokes your breath, the unseen shield when despair claws at your soul, the hand that steadies you when your knees buckle under invisible weights. In our loud, chaotic world, his voice is not found in noise, it's found in silence. In the moments of stillness, we too often avoid, and in those quiet spaces, if we choose to enter them, we may find him waiting, with patience, with sorrow, with hope. And now, for the first time in what feels like eternity, he is crying louder, not in anger, in heartbreak, because to him, you were always worth saving, even when you couldn't see it yourself. Even now, he waits. Even now he hopes. And somewhere deep inside, if we listen closely enough, if we breathe past the noise and the fear, we can remember that truth. We can remember him. And perhaps, it's not too late. There was a time when humanity knew how to listen, not just with ears, but with spirit, with breath, with silence. Warnings didn't come through breaking news or online feeds. They came through winds that changed direction, through animals that migrated early, through dreams that stayed with you long after waking, and above all, they came from the divine, from messengers, from guardians, from angels. And at the front of those silent watchmen stood Archangel Michael. He didn't need to shout. Back then, the world knew how to feel when a storm was coming. Our ancestors didn't laugh at omens or roll their eyes at intuition. They understood that everything was connected. Body, soul, spirit, earth, sky. But that was then. Now we scroll. Now we silence the spirit with constant distraction. When Michael speaks, his voice drowns beneath viral noise and trending trivia. His presence gets skipped, like a song we're too busy to hear. And with every swipe, every ignored whisper of the soul, something sacred dims. The warnings never stopped. We just stopped recognizing them. Look at our world. Fires that rage where they never used to. Oceans rising, lands falling, children born into chaos. Truth becomes opinion. Compassion gets politicized. We make jokes about the end of days, but angels don't laugh, because they know the spiral has been seen before. History, too, forgets. Every great fall began with spiritual deafness. Every ancient ruin once had people who thought they had more time, who believed nothing would collapse, who ignored the signs until the signs became screams. Michael has always stood at those crossroads, sword raised not in violence but in warning. He never forces, he never pushes, but he always shows up. And if you look closely, you'll find his footprints burned into the turning points of history, in cities that fell, in nations that forgot kindness, in the lonely eyes of prophets who tried to warn a deafened world. He was there. He's always been there. But here's what people don't want to admit. Divine warnings are not about fear. They're about returning. They're not threats. They're invitations. Invitations to come back to stillness, to truth, to what we already know. Deep down, Michael doesn't descend with storms for vengeance. He descends with storms because nothing else is working, because silence was ignored, because the gentle signs went unseen, and because he loves you too much to let you walk off a cliff while he watches in silence. But even love has a threshold, not of patience, but of reach. Because for all his might, Michael cannot force you to listen. He cannot undo the noise we choose. He cannot overwrite the voices we allow to rule our minds. That steps up to us. So what happens when a world forgets the language of warning, when instinct is dismissed, when the soul is silenced? It becomes fragile, vulnerable, exposed. And that steps where we are. A planet full of people staring into devices, wondering why they feel hollow, why anxiety clings to them, why beauty feels distant, why silence feels threatening. We forgot the warnings not because they disappeared, but because they didn't fit the algorithm, and now we are spiraling. But here sits the mercy. The angel hasn't stepped left. Michael still stands at the door. He still sends the dreams, the gut feelings, the strange coincidences, the shivers down your spine when you're about to make the wrong choice, that pause before disaster, that second chance. He is still reaching, still weeping, still hoping, and for those willing to pause, even just for a moment, the signs are still there. The ancient language of the spirit hasn't died. It's just waiting beneath the noise. Your heart knows it. You've felt it. You've seen things you couldn't explain. Felt nudges you couldn't trace. Been spared from something you didn't even see coming. That was him. That was Michael. And he sets not angry. He sets heartbroken. Not because we failed, but because we're still running, still numbing, still skipping, still pretending we set alone. But the truth is, no soul is ever truly alone. The divine doesn't walk away. It waits. It whispers. And yes, sometimes it cries. We've forgotten the warnings, yes. But that doesn't mean we can't remember again. It starts with stillness, with silence, with choosing for once to stop scrolling and start listening, to open a window inside yourself where divine presence can be felt again. Michael stands there, always. Not behind you, not above you, but beside you. Sword lowered, hand extended. Even now, even as the world spins faster, the invitation is still on the table. Can you hear him? Can you feel him? He is still speaking. You were never too far gone. You were just too distracted to feel how close he really was. And the moment you remember, he will be right there, waiting. We skip him because we are scared. Not of him, but of what he shows us. Because to see Archangel Michael standing beside you is to admit something you've spent your whole life trying to avoid. That you were never alone. That you were always being watched over. That help was closer than you ever believed. And if that's true, if he's real, then so is the responsibility that comes with being seen. So we scroll. We numb. We run. Because it's easier to believe we're lost in a meaningless universe than to believe we've been lovingly guided the whole time and still chose to ignore it. We skip Michael not because he failed us, but because we are terrified of waking up. Because waking up means change, and change hurts. To accept the presence of Michael is to admit we've silenced something holy inside ourselves, that we've chosen comfort over growth, that we've preferred noise over clarity, that we've looked at light and turned away, thinking it would expose too much of our darkness. But the truth is, he never came to judge you. He came to protect you from judgment, from shame, from the weight of regret. He came to remind you who you were before the fear took over. But still, we skip. We build lives that make spiritual connection inconvenient. We fill every second with tasks, screens, distractions. We fear silence because silence speaks, and sometimes it speaks truths we don't want to hear. So we keep busy. We laugh off what we feel. We ignore the goosebumps, the strange dreams, the repeated patterns, the messages that arrive in whispers, hoping they'll just go away. But they don't stet, and he doesn't stet. Michael waits, even as we avoid him. And deep down we know why. Because somewhere inside, we carry a wound, a shame we think cannot be forgiven, a mistake we believe disqualifies us from love, a voice that says, "You are not worthy," and so we hide. We tell ourselves we're too far gone, too broken, too cynical, that angels are for other people, that light is for those who have earned it, that guardians don't waste time on people like us. But Michael never needed you to be perfect. He only needed you to be willing to pause, to notice, to remember. The only reason we skip him is because we've confused love with punishment. We've confused stillness with emptiness. We've confused divine presence with religious trauma. Michael has never belonged to religion. He belongs to light. He belongs to those who seek truth, who hunger for healing, who ache in the night and whisper, "Please, someone hear me." And he does, every time. So why do we keep skipping him? Because truth is heavy. Because silence is confronting. Because looking in the mirror with an angel at your side means you can no longer pretend you're powerless. Because once you feel that presence, the excuses fall apart. And when the excuses die, we're left with the most terrifying thing of all, freedom. The freedom to change. The freedom to return. The freedom to stop blaming the world and start healing from the inside. And yes, that step's hard. That step's terrifying. That step's vulnerable. But it step's also holy. Michael doesn't demand we be unbreakable. He only asks that we stop pretending we are. That we let the tears fall. That we let the silence speak. That we allow the soul to ache without shame. Because it's through that ache that light breaks in. You see, Michael has always worked in paradox. A warrior who doesn't conquer, but protects. A judge who offers mercy. A divine power who kneels beside broken souls and says, "You still matter." But we skip that voice. We silence that hope. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught to fear our own light. We were taught that divinity was distant, that angels were rare, that help only comes to the holy. But none of that was ever true. Michael walks with the forgotten, the anxious, the addicted, the ones on the edge, the ones in the pit. He doesn't ask for proof of goodness. He brings the proof with him. Every time you ask begotten back up. Every time you said forgiven when it hurt. Every time you said I can't and somehow did, it was him. Not doing it for you, but doing it with you. And he still is. But only if you choose to notice. Only if you stop skipping. You see, skipping Michael is not about rejection. It's about fear. Fear that we are seen. Fear that we are loved. Fear that we are powerful. And that fear is what keeps us small. But you are not small. You are not unworthy. You are not forgotten. You are just asleep. And now the angel is calling. Gently. Patiently. Again. Will you keep skipping? Or will you stop? Just for a moment and let that holy silence in. Let the presence of something ancient, something loving, something fierce wrap around you like wings. He is here. You were never skipped. You were always seen. You were always loved. And you still are. Especially now. It happened in silence. No thunder. No lightning, no fire from the sky. Just a stillness that echoed across dimensions. A pause so deep, even time seemed to bow in respect. That sep's when Michael cried. Not in fury, not in despair, but in heartbreak. It was not the first time. But something was different this time. This was the tear that reached beyond heaven. The one that passed through stars, through clouds, through history. The tear that landed in a world too distracted to notice. No one heard it. No one saw the moment his armor trembled, when the sword slipped from his hand. Not because he lost faith, but because his heart had reached its breaking point. Imagine him there, wings spread wide, shielding a world that kept walking into fire. Eyes burning not with anger but with mourning. Kneeling not in defeat but in grief. The grief of a guardian who watched love rot into fear. The sorrow of watching children forget the sound of their own soul. The pain of watching us hurt each other and call it justice. This was the moment when eternity wept. One tear. That sips all. But in that tear lived everything. The memory of the first child who prayed and felt peace. The last breath of those who died forgotten. The whispered prayers of the addicted, the abandoned, the abused. The laughter of those who mocked hope. The silence of those who gave up. All of it, held in a single drop. And as that tear fell, the cosmos held its breath. Because when an archangel cries, it is not drama. It is warning. It is longing. It is the deepest kind of love. The kind that watches in agony, unable to interfere with your free will, but never stops hoping you'll come home. That day, though the world spun as usual, something shifted in the unseen. Michael had watched wars rage, empires fall, temples crumble, but this indifference, this proud forgetting, this deliberate deafness, it broke him. Not because he was weak, but because he loved so deeply that he could no longer hold the weight of our silence alone. And so, he cried, and the earth for a moment responded. Somewhere, a child put down their phone and looked out the window without knowing why. Somewhere, a woman who had lost everything found the strength to forgive. Somewhere, a man who had planned to end it all paused and cried instead, because his tear did not just fall, it moved. Through space, through souls, through stories. It reached the places where words cannot go. It touched the inner chamber of the heart, the part untouched by cynicism, untouched by logic, untouched by shame. You see, Michael Sipp's tear is not made of water. It is made of memory. It holds the truth of who you were before the world hardened you. It reminds the soul of what it felt like to trust, to love, to hope. And that moment, it was instead a spectacle. It was a whisper, a vibration, a trembling in the soul of the universe. But the world didn't stop pause. Most didn't step feel it. Most were too busy, too tired, too numb. And yet, the ones who did feel it didn't understand what it was. A sudden ache, a sense of being watched, not judged, but mourned for. The feeling that something vast and ancient was breaking, not with rage, but with compassion. That was him, that was Michael, crying not because we're evil, but because we've forgotten we're good, because we've made fear our compass, because we've replaced awe with sarcasm, reverence with consumption, and even still, he loves us. Even then, he stayed. The moment he cried was not just about sorrow. It was about invitation, a call to the deepest part of you, to return, to remember, to come back to the soul you buried beneath performance, perfection, pressure. And if you quiet yourself now, truly quiet, you might still feel it. That vibration in your chest. That ache that says, something is not right. That SEP's not anxiety. That SEP's memory. Memory of the divine, of light, of the moment you first felt seen, not by the world, but by eternity. That SEP's what Michael carries. And when he cries, he's not just mourning the world. He SEP's mourning you, the real you. The child you were before the trauma, the voice you silenced, the heart you hardened to survive. His tear falls for the soul you abandoned and wants to find again. And if you're listening, if your chest is tight and your eyes sting and your thoughts won't stop spinning, it's because that tear is reaching you now. You are not broken. You are awakening. You are remembering. And so is he. Because Michael doesn't cry for the end. He cries for beginnings. He cries because there's still time, still hope, still something worth saving. You. Always you. And maybe this moment right now, this breath you're taking, this stillness you're feeling, that's the echo of his tear reaching your heart. It steps not too late. Not for you. Not for us. Not while he still watches. Not while he still loves. Not while he still weeps for the light he still believes lives within you. He doesn't speak with a voice. There are no thunderous declarations. No booming commands from the sky. When Michael wants to speak to you, he does it through presence. Through a peace that has no reason. Through a silence that feels like safety. You may not hear words, but you still feel truth. You may not see his face, but you feel seen. This is his message. Not shouted, not written, but felt in the places where language cannot reach. You are not what happened to you. You are not your wounds, not your doubts, not your failures. You are the light that survived all of it, and you are loved. Not in a vague, poetic way, but in a precise, intentional way. You are known. Every breath you've taken. Every night you've wept. Every moment you almost gave up. He was there. Not to stop you, but to sit with you. Not to judge, but to protect. Not to speak, but to listen. Michael's message is not a call to religion. It's a call to return to what's real. The divine is not far. It's right here, in the beat of your heart, in the inhale you forgot to honor, in the stranger who smiled when you needed it most. You don't need to search the stars. Just close your eyes. That pressure in your chest, that sips him, that quiet strength, holding you together when everything is falling apart. That's him. That voice that says, "Get up, one more time." That's him. And right now, he sips with you. Not beside you. Within you. He doesn't need you to prove anything. He doesn't ask for perfection. He sits just asking for one thing. Your presence. Be here. Feel this. Let go of the stories that told you you're not worthy. Let go of the lies that said you have to earn love. You were born with it. You are love, wrapped in skin. You are light, living in a world that forgot how to see. And still, you shine. Michael Sipp's message is simple. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And no matter how far you've gone, there is always a way back. Not to some grand destination, but to yourself. To that quiet place inside you that remembers what matters. That remembers who you were before the fear. That still believes in something more. That place is sacred. That place is home. And Michael stands there, always guarding the door, ready to walk with you when you return. But you don't have to do it all at once. Just breathe. Just sit. Just let the stillness speak. Because his presence doesn't fix everything. It reminds you that you don't have to carry everything alone. Let the burden drop. Let the armor crack. Let the soul sigh. This is not surrender. This is reunion. You with yourself. You with peace. You with the divine. Michael's message is not about becoming something. It's about remembering something. That you are already enough. Already seen. Already loved. And nothing you've done, nothing you've lost, nothing you've feared has erased that truth. It's still there. And he still sees it. Right now he is closer than breath. Not to push you, but to protect you as you step forward, one quiet moment at a time. He wants you to know that your existence is not a mistake. Your pain is not pointless. Your scars are not shameful. They are sacred markers of everything you've survived. You are still here, and that matters. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Not because these words are magical, but because you are finally still enough to hear what was always being said. Come back. To yourself. To peace. To the presence that never left you. Michael isn't sending you forward. He steps walking beside you. With wings you can't see, but will feel every time you choose truth over fear. Every time you choose grace over shame. Every time you choose to keep living, when everything says, give up. This is his message, and it was always meant for you. Especially now. Maybe you were never skipping him. Maybe you were just scared to hear what silence had been trying to say all along. Because silence is not emptiness. Stillness is not absence. Sometimes, it's the holiest place of all, the doorway through which the divine waits to be remembered. And Archangel Michael? He never left. He's been here the whole time, watching, waiting, hoping, not judging, not scolding, just waiting. For the day you'd stop scrolling long enough to feel again. For the moment you'd pause and realize the ache in your heart wasn't weakness, but memory. The memory of being loved before you even knew what love was. The memory of being seen by something too vast to name, yet intimate enough to feel like home. That's what this has all been about. Not fear. Not guilt. Not even belief. Just remembrance. You were never meant to carry life alone. There has always been help. There has always been hope. And even when you shut the door, the divine never stopped knocking. Michael's tears were not tears of judgment. They were prayers. Not to heaven, but to you. To the part of you that still wants to believe in something bigger. To the child inside who still hopes there's meaning in all of this. To the soul that quietly whispers, maybe I matter after all. You do. You always have. And you always will. This video wasn't about religion. It wasn't about angels in paintings or battles in ancient skies. It was about you, and the divine conversation you've been a part of since the day you were born. You are not random. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. Not for love. Not for healing. Not for return. There is still time. Michael is still watching. Still waiting. Still willing to walk with you through whatever comes next. So, breathe. Close your eyes. Let this moment hold you. Let yourself remember. The light hasn't yet gone out. It's just been waiting for you to turn toward it again. And now that you've heard this message, you can't unhear it. Because truth doesn't leave. It lingers. It waits. It follows you like the sound of your own name being called from far away. And now, you get to decide. Will you keep skipping? Or will you stop, just for a moment, and feel? If this message moved you, if it touched something real inside you, don't let it fade away. Let it change something. Let it stay. And if you think someone else might need to hear this, someone who's hurting, who's numb, who's searching, share it. You never know what a single moment of remembrance can awaken in someone's soul. If one tear from Michael could cross the heavens to reach you, imagine what your light might do for someone else. And if you want more messages like this, more spaces where silence is honored and truth is spoken, then subscribe. Help this message find the ones still lost in the noise. Because this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Michael never stopped reaching for us. And now, we're finally reaching back.